Greetings, Sweater Kingdom. It is I, Sweater King, and today we'll be talking about Dead by Daylight yet again. Because now it has officially been a week since the 2v8 game mode has kind of been done now. And now that actually officially wraps up the summer event, if you want to call that, in Dead by Daylight. Now, for those that don't know what the summer event was, it was 3 game modes for 3 weeks of summer. There was Chaos Shuffle, Lights Out, and 2v8. 2 game modes out of the 3, which is Dead by Daylight's bread and butter. So they cannot make it go any worse than it already is. Lights Out was a little iffy, and I had the wonderful chance to play all 3 of them. So here's my thoughts and opinions on each of these game modes, starting with Chaos Shuffle. Chaos Shuffle is as what it says, chaos and shuffling. The premise of this game mode is that the survivors and killers do not know what perks they get until they are in the trial. And I know a lot of people actually prefer to play the mods where they actually do not know what perk it is and they have to guess as the trial goes on. And I think that should be base kit for Chaos Shuffle. Chaos Shuffle is one of those game modes that you can't necessarily get mad at because it's not killer-sided nor survivor-sided. It's probably the most balanced and the one that you actually have to use your skills and adapt based on the perks. Now, you can get some absolute dookie combinations where the perk combinations just do not work. Like, let's say, Sprint Burst and any other exhaustion perks. The only exhaustion you have is Sprint Burst because it's always going to activate no matter what. And the other ones need some kind of activation. Killers, they get their perks randomized too. Another thing too is that the add-ons for the killer's powers are also randomized. And you do get to select which items you want, but you don't know which rarity or add-ons you're going to get. And honestly, Chaos Shuffle is probably the best out of the 3 game modes, out of all of them. Mostly for the fact that there is really no clear-cut choice of killer or survivor-sided. Again, it's up to skill and how you want to adapt. Honestly, some of the most fun, I always like to try and get some sort of value out of all my perks, whether it kills me or doesn't, whether I'm killer or survivor. That's just the joys of Chaos Shuffle, and honestly, Dead by Daylight's bread and butter when it comes to event game modes. The next game mode that came out was Lights Out, and I had the fortunate to play this version. I played very little of its first iteration 2 years ago, so this is officially the second time that Lights Out has came to Dead by Daylight. Now, the first iteration, nobody got perks, nobody got any help. It was literally just you got a little candlestick. Survivors had no tear radius, survivors had no scratch marks, killers had no tear radius, and it was genuinely dark as shit into the entire map. So it gave Dead by Daylight that identity it needed of it being a horror game, and I actually prefer the first iteration. Now, the second iteration changed a lot. So the candles that you got in the first iteration were now turned into lanterns, which gave you base kit windows of opportunity, which I think was a little bullshit. Also, the 1 minute endurance that you get and the generator speeds were genuinely a lot faster in this game mode. And what do killers get? A very watered down version of Franklin's Demise. So how Franklin's Demise works is you hit a survivor and it drops the item. This does not work how it does. You have to actually down the survivor before they drop the lanterns. There's no way for the lanterns to be destroyed unless they are on top of generators. Other than it being very survivor-sided, I actually had a lot of fun as a killer. You can have a lot of fun if your main objective isn't winning. You can have a lot of fun just scaring the ever loving just crap out of all the survivors. The best killers I found was Demogorgon, because you could just launch from the darkness. Deathslinger, because you could just snipe somebody from the darkness and drag them into the darkness, and that's just scary, funny. Myers, because he's a silent killer, and honestly is just probably the easiest to play jump scare killer with. And Nemesis was also another fun one because of the zombies. The zombies just snuck up on people, and then just a big brute just coming out of nowhere just to defend your zombies. That was generally fun. Lights Out is, I think, one of the most weakest of the 3, and it's probably the most non-popular one because it's just supposed to be a scary experience. That's all it really is. And for the last game mode, 2v8. And the premise of this is base game is 1v4, 1 killer versus 4 survivors. So 2v8 just basically doubles that, 2 killers versus 8 survivors. You get no perks, you get classes in each category as killer and survivor, and the cap for both is you can only have 4 of one class for survivor and 1 of the 4 classes as killer. The roster for the killers is very small, which granted is hard to code every single killer, and there's a lot that really don't synergize with each other or just make a coding hellscape to try and implement. But this is Dead by Daylight's second bread and butter, mostly because of the chaos that insinuates. The only complaint I have is killer queue, but that's kind of granted. If you are just a killer main and you do not like playing Survivor, then yeah, the killer queues can genuinely be just repulsing and not want you to play the game. If you play both sides like me, you can play Survivor while you wait for queue, which I guess is kind of like a half and half fix for people that just want to play killer and want to get into it with their buddies. It genuinely is a fun time. I enjoy playing with my buddies and just playing 2 Resident Evil characters or just 2 random characters and just going ham on the survivors. There's 8 survivors. Flashlight saves are genuinely harder to pull off in this game mode, mostly because 1, you have to find the flashlight in a box, and 2, you have to time it perfectly because there's no hooks. Once you get picked up, that's it. It's over for you. So bada bing, bada boom, just hooked, and the entity takes you to a random corner. Now, did I enjoy the summer event? I actually really did. The only complaint I had is that 2v8 does not count towards your killer grade or your survivor grade. But then again, 2v8 is a hellish nightmare to code, so I kind of understand that. But other than that, I had a good time with a lot of the game modes they had. The blood points were absolutely just flowing through, and honestly, not bad for a summer event. I'm excited for next month's 2v8 when they introduce Alien. I'm excited to see how that plays out. But yeah, that's going to wrap it up for today's video. If you like what you see, consider subscribing. Make sure to follow me on Twitch so that you know when I go live next. That's about it. Peace, Kingdom.